Field of Screams. I already anticipate a lot of confusion because there's probably a lot of haunted attractions and movies called Field of Screams. This is in reference to Field of Screams in Lancaster County, PA. And if you're not in that area, you're probably thinking, why should I even bother listening to this video? Or maybe you're not into haunted attractions. Well, let me just say, first of all, if you are into haunted attractions and you are anywhere in the area, this might be worth going to. My friend and I, for years we had this tradition where we would go to haunted attractions, but we always had to leave New Jersey to go to the really good ones. I mean, the two that were really good in New Jersey were the Tent of Terror that my friend has run and is now showing on ABC Fright Fight, and the other one was Bane. Those are the only two really good ones we went to in New Jersey. Most of the good stuff was either in New York or in Pennsylvania. Now that I'm living in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of good stuff around here. But anyway, getting off topic, why listen to this if you have no interest whatsoever in haunted attractions? Well, I'm going to give some advice here that while it pertains mostly to haunted attractions, it's the same advice I'd give to people who are thinking of going to a theme park, a Renaissance fair, or any kind of con. I went to Field of Screams on, it turns out, its busiest Saturday night ever, October 18th. So before I say anything else, I have to get this out of the way. The lines were atrocious. And I probably should have anticipated that, but I guess, like, as it gets closer to Halloween, I get more in the mood for these things. Sure, the crowds are less in September, but as it gets closer and closer to Halloween, I get more in the Halloween mode. So I went on October 18th, and it was packed. And I had no idea how long the lines were, and if I'm getting really frustrated by long lines to the point where I actually wrote a complaint, there's something to be said. However, when I wrote them a complaint, they wrote me a nice message back where they said, okay, we understand there's certain problems. Next year, we're going to put in the pamphlet what's going to be the busiest weekends of the year. There's one particular ride that I mentioned that had a really long line, and I'll get to that one later on. But they wrote me a really nice letter. So here I am, not to complain about the things that happened, but more to give you an idea of what you should do if you want to attend Field of Screams. First of all, if you want to go, you probably want to go when it's not as crowded. And I know that it's going to be Halloween when anybody hears this, and I would probably be tempted to go on Halloween myself. You better not do it unless one or two things are going to happen. One, you're willing to stay there for a very, very long time, and you dress nice and warm because it is going to get cold, and you have enough time to stop for hot chocolate, because I was wearing 2 layers. I was still pretty cold, and that was 2 weekends ago. This could be a long night for you if you go there on a busy evening. If you don't want it to be busy, go. It's still open, I think, this weekend and next weekend. So if you really want to go and you don't like big crowds or long lines, then you need to go at a different time. Don't go on Halloween or even on a Saturday. Got to go when the crowd is smaller, or if you are willing to buy a VIP pass. Now, usually I don't buy VIP passes, but at Field of Screams, I almost think the $20 is worth it if it's just you going. If you got a family of 4, I don't know if they give discount prices on that, but I can see where people would be less inclined to spend that, even if it did cut down the lines considerably. And there were people paying for those quite frequently. I was online for this one really long attraction, and people were leaving the line to pay for VIP passes. That's how bad it was. So there's my spiel. If you're going to be there, either go when it's going to be not busy, which is a Sunday or earlier in the year, or maybe I'm anticipating after Halloween it'll probably slow down. or you be prepared for a very, very long night. Because I was not. When I hear on the website that it could be an all-night thing, I usually think that it's going to be the hours of like 8 to maybe 12. Well, I was there from 8 to 12:15, and I actually left without going on the last attraction. So that gives you an idea. That said, most of the stuff is really, really good. Den of Darkness, which is one of their 4 attractions, is brilliant. I walked through that thing, and at a certain point, I was alone. There was nobody else in my party around. I guess I got separated from a few people. I wasn't going in a group, so it wasn't like I was really supposed to stay with anyone. And there's this moment, and it lasts for a long time, where the lights are completely off, and they go on just long enough for you to see where you're going so you have an idea of where to go. That might bother some people big time if you are really safety conscious, or you really think something bad's going to happen, you're really uncomfortable with that kind of thing. This might not be the thing for you. But for me, I'm an extreme haunter, so I know I'm going to be safe. I trust these people. I know that if something were to happen, they'd get lawsuits, so I'm not really worried. So I was just in for a really fun ride where I couldn't see anything for a second, and then the light would turn on, and I'd see just where I was going, and then it would turn off again, and then it would turn on, and somebody would be right in my face. Usually I complain about that kind of thing in a horror movie, but in a haunt, that's awesome. And the actors, they really interacted with me. As a matter of fact, one of them pulled me off the line at one point and said, like, oh, come into my office. And he was talking about doing all these things like cutting my face off and my skin. He was probably really surprised that none of the things he was saying was really affecting me. But I've done these haunted houses before, so it's actually pretty difficult to scare me. But I was scared pretty good in Den of Darkness. There was one point where it was completely dark, and there's one animatronic suddenly sprung to life out of complete darkness, and I literally almost jumped through the ceiling. Den of Darkness was probably worth a trip. If you go to one attraction, that is the one I would recommend. Then again, that's not really fair of me to say because, number one, I didn't go to the Asylum attraction that was there. I missed that one. And also, I don't feel it's right for me to review Nocturnal Wasteland, which is their newest attraction, because I don't feel like I got the full experience. It's one of the things I wrote to them about. I said, listen, this line is moving so slow that the line is pretty much still going when we're on the ride. Everybody's moving at a snail's pace, and because there's such a traffic jam, you can hear all the conversations around you, and everything that's happening in front of you, you hear about it before it happens, so there's no surprise. There was one point in Nocturnal Wasteland where you're supposed to be separated from the rest of your group, but because you can hear everybody talking, you really know that nothing's going to happen. No one's going to jump out at you. There's not going to be any animatronics. It's kind of lost at that point when you know what's going to happen. So I was not real impressed with it, but then again, I went at the last part of the night, and they said that they are actually looking for ways to expedite this thing. It's a new attraction. They're having some difficulties with it. So don't take my word for that one. I would recommend you try that one out for yourself. The Hayride is also really cool, though the music that they have playing on the line, which everybody else seemed to enjoy because it was very high energy, it kind of ruined the feeling for me. I like to have this feeling of dread going onto the ride, and there was even this big, huge pumpkin animatronic that's supposed to make noise. You couldn't even hear what it was saying because the DJ was playing music. But that's my own personal taste, and once I got on the the Haunted Hayride, it was pretty cool. There was a lot of good stuff going on as far as props and animatronics and themes. And also, if you're claustrophobic, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're not, you're going to feel like you're shut into some spaces and that there may not be any way out. And you never know what's lurking in that corner, from clowns to snakes to all kinds of stuff. And this is an attraction where the actors are actually allowed to make physical contact with you. They won't hurt you, but they can actually make a little bit of physical contact, which I think does enhance the experience because you can only do so much sneaking up behind someone and going boo. The only two things that are rough about the hayride, one of them is the fact that they have this kind of routine where you drive around for a while and then you stop at a set and you're kind of locked in. I can't explain how you're locked in without revealing what happens, but you kind of fall into this pattern and you predict it after a while. It would have been nice if they had a little bit more stuff happening while the ride was moving. And the other thing that's tough is that not only do you wait online for the hayride, you wait to get off the hayride. I know that makes no sense, but you actually have to wait in line to get back to the rest of the haunt. They put an optical illusion in there, I guess, to lessen the traffic. It seems to actually cause more harm than good, but it is a cool effect, admittedly. And so I know I've said a lot of tough things about this one, but truly I would not have said good things about this if I thought this was something to avoid. I think that this is a good haunt, and I actually would like to go back. Luckily for me, even though I left before going on the last attraction, my pass is good throughout the rest of the season, so I could, if I wanted to, go back there, and I may even go back there on Halloween or the weekend after, but definitely this will not be my last trip to Field of Screams. I think it's worth it for all the people that love Halloween and all the people that love to get scared.